You walk into a room and something shifts. You become aware of your hands. You wonder if you're walking normally. You replay what you just said to someone and immediately wish you had said it differently. You feel, somewhere in the back of your mind, that people are looking at you, noticing you, judging you. They are probably not. But your brain does not know that. This feeling has a name. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect. And it is not a quirk of shy people or anxious people. It is a feature of the human brain itself. Ancient, automatic, and running in almost every person alive, whether they are aware of it or not. To understand why your brain does this, you have to go back to the beginning. Not your beginning. The beginning of the kind of creature you are. Humans are the most socially dependent species that has ever existed. Not because we chose to be, but because survival forced us to be. For hundreds of thousands of years, being alone meant being dead. The savannah did not favor individuals. It favored groups. The person who was accepted, trusted, and valued by their tribe had access to food, protection, mates, and knowledge. The person who was rejected, excluded, or ignored did not survive long enough to pass their genes forward. Under those conditions, the brain that paid obsessive attention to how it was being perceived, that monitored every social signal, that replayed every interaction for signs of disapproval, that preemptively adjusted behavior to avoid rejection, that brain kept its owner in the group. And staying in the group meant staying alive. Your self-consciousness is not a weakness. It is the echo of a survival system so effective that it never switched off. In 2000, psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky at Cornell University ran a now-famous experiment. They asked participants to wear an embarrassing t-shirt, one with a large image of Barry Manilow on the front, and then walk into a room full of other people. Afterward, they asked the t-shirt wearers to estimate how many people in the room had noticed the shirt. The wearers guessed around 50%. The actual number was closer to 25. The participants thought twice as many people had noticed them as actually had. Their brains had placed them at the center of a spotlight that existed only in their own minds. Gilovich and Savitsky called this the spotlight effect, and it has been replicated across dozens of studies since. When people trip in public, they believe far more people saw it than did. When people say something awkward in a meeting, they believe it registered far more deeply with others than it actually did. When people show up to a party with a stain on their shirt, they are convinced everyone noticed. Almost no one did. The reason is simple, and it comes down to a fundamental limitation of human cognition. You have access to your own inner experience in a way that no one else does. You know you are wearing the embarrassing shirt. You know you just stumbled on the stairs. You know what you meant to say before you said the wrong thing. This information is so vivid and so present to you that it is almost impossible to believe others are not equally aware of it. Your experience of yourself crowds out your ability to accurately model what others are experiencing. Psychologists call this egocentric bias. It does not mean you are self-obsessed. It means your brain uses your own perspective as the default anchor for understanding the world, and then fails to adjust far enough away from that anchor when trying to imagine what others see. But there is something deeper going on here than a simple cognitive error, because the spotlight effect is not just about perception, it is about threat. Your brain's social monitoring system is ancient. It lives in structures deep in the brain. The amygdala, the anterior cingulate cortex, the medial prefrontal cortex, that developed long before the parts of the brain capable of rational self-reflection. These systems do not think, they react. And what they are constantly reacting to is the question, am I safe in this group? Every time you walk into a room, your brain runs a rapid, unconscious threat assessment. Not for lions or predators, for social danger. Are people looking at me? Are their expressions neutral or negative? Did that person just look away too quickly? Is the conversation shifting when I approach? These signals are processed faster than conscious thought, and they feed directly into your emotional state before you have a chance to evaluate them rationally. This is why you can walk into a room and feel watched before you have consciously registered a single face. The social threat detection system has already run its scan and filed its report. The feeling arrives before the thought. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at UCLA, who has spent decades studying the social brain, found that the neural networks responsible for social pain and physical pain overlap significantly. Being excluded, embarrassed, or rejected activates many of the same brain regions as physical injury. Your brain does not treat social threat as metaphorically painful. It treats it as literally painful. The same alarm system fires. This is why being judged feels dangerous, because for most of human history, it was. But here is where it gets complicated, because the spotlight effect does not just make you feel watched, it makes you perform, and that performance creates a loop. When you believe people are watching you, you become more self-conscious. When you become more self-conscious, you monitor yourself more carefully. When you monitor yourself more carefully, you become stiffer, less natural, more prone to the exact mistakes you're trying to avoid. You stumble on the stairs because you are thinking about how you walk. You say the wrong thing because you are so focused on saying the right thing. You become, in the presence of an imaginary audience, a worse version of yourself. Psychologists call this ironic process theory. The harder you try to suppress a behavior or thought, the more likely it is to occur. Trying not to think about something requires thinking about it. Trying not to seem nervous activates the very systems that produce nervousness. The spotlight, once you believe it is on you, becomes self-fulfilling. And the people around you? They are running the same program. They are sitting in the same meeting thinking about whether their comment landed badly. They are at the same party wondering if they laughed too loudly. They are in the same room, convinced the spotlight is on them, which means they have almost no attention left over to shine it on you. The spotlight is not on you. It never was. But every human in the room believes it is on them. There is one more layer to this that researchers have only recently begun to map. The spotlight effect is not constant. It intensifies under specific conditions. Novelty is one. The more unfamiliar a situation, the stronger the sense of being watched. Status threat is another. Any situation where your competence, attractiveness, or value to the group feels at risk triggers the social monitoring system into overdrive, and audience size matters less than you would expect. The spotlight effect is just as strong in front of 2 people as it is in front of 200. What matters is not how many people are watching. What matters is whether your brain has flagged the situation as socially significant. Understanding the spotlight effect does not make it go away. Your amygdala does not read psychology papers. The ancient threat system does not update based on intellectual insight. But knowing what is happening, knowing that the audience in your mind is a projection of evolution, not a reflection of reality, creates just enough distance to act anyway. Every person you admire who seems effortlessly confident is running the same program you are. The same ancient monitoring system, the same fear of exclusion, the same imaginary spotlight. The difference is not that the spotlight switched off. The difference is that they learned, slowly and imperfectly, to walk forward while it was still on. The room does not notice you as much as you think. It never did. But the part of your brain responsible for keeping you in the group will keep insisting otherwise. Because for most of human history, the cost of being wrong about that was too high to risk. You were built to feel watched. You were built to care what the group thinks. That system saved your ancestors' lives 10,000 times over. It is only in the last 10,000 years, the blink of an eye in evolutionary time, that it became more obstacle than advantage. The spotlight is ancient, the room is new, and your brain has not caught up yet.
Hit like.